Hey everyone, it's Lance LaForte here. Welcome back to Talent Thrives Here, the podcast where we pull back the curtain on what it actually takes to win in today's talent landscape. In a world where open to work banners are everywhere, all over LinkedIn, and layoffs seem to be the daily headline, the job market has become a crowded, noisy, and, let's be honest, often a soul-crushing place. Because of that, we've seen a massive surge of job coaches popping up on every corner of the internet. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's 5 more being born every day, it seems. Because of that, we've seen this surge. But today, I've invited someone I think stands out in the pack. Someone to show you he's not just following the trend, he's been navigating the highest levels in power and leadership for over 25 years. I want to welcome our guest today, Eric Woodard. Eric, welcome to the show.
Hey there, Lance. I'm so glad to be here and just want to acknowledge you for all the things you do to help match employers with job seekers. It really matters.
Thanks, Eric. I had a friend who said the other week, she said, you're kind of like you're a corporate matchmaker. And I said, yeah, kind of. That's what we're doing. We're looking for fit. We're looking for chemistry. We're looking for, someone that it's beyond a resume. As you know, it's much more about their secret sauce or their special superpower, what they bring to the table that differentiates them against the competitors, right? I just wanted to highlight a little bit of your background for our audience. And you've served as a scheduler, to the U.S. Senate, assistant to the chief of staff in the Clinton-Gore White House, and you've been a director at the Smithsonian. So you've seen powerful rooms in how the world's built. And now you're using kind of an insider playbook to help. You've mentioned over 34,000 job seekers in helping them get tuned up really for the interviews ahead. That's pretty amazing, Eric. I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be here. And it's even during those long, scary corridors of power, people put their shorts on one leg at a time, Lance.
Right.
It's all kind of the same stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's all kind of the same stuff.
Excellent. So let's get into it because you run a coaching program, and I'm curious about your secret sauce. What do you feel differentiates you from, because there's so many programs and so many different angles on, how do you get the job? How do you get the interview even to start with?
Yeah.
And what are the kind of hurdles out there? Because everyone keeps talking about, I see a job posting and there's like 5,000 applications in the first 3 days, right?
Yeah. Well, this stuff is all definitely more art than science. And anybody who tells you there's one right way to do it is full of it. Don't listen to them. And my experience, and I think a lot of the reason my clients get hired as quickly as they do is, as many new things as there are under the sun, and, there's AI and all the proliferation of all sorts of new technology and algorithms. At the end of the day, my operating theory, and it seems to be working, is humans hire humans.
Mm.
And the opportunity in an increasingly automated artificial world is to be more human, not less. And so the good news is where a lot of our competition is, automating stuff and the opportunity for any job seeker who wants to take it is to be more human, not less. And it's a surefire way to stand out, and it seems to be increasingly so.
Yeah, I find it amazing. I can think of, some of the high-level executive roles I've had where we get past the first or second interview, and there's usually a lunch or dinner,
Hmm.
right? And the executives are all around the table, and this is a fit dinner. This is, you've already passed a few gates,
Sure.
and this is, do we like you? Do we trust you? Really?
That's it right there. Do we trust you?
Yeah,
That's the big one.
yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
100%.
Because I think all of them know there's some kind of liability, whether it's 5% or 30%, whatever. There's a leap of faith at some point.
Sure.
And, back in the day when we did a lot more face-to-face interviews, not all this remote Zoom stuff, I used to call
Right.
it the pheromone check.
Yep.
You could feel it in the room. That's our person. We got the right,
Yep.
after several interviews and a bunch of different candidates, you could feel like, or sometimes you get somebody in and you go, well, they tick off about 60% of the boxes in what we're looking for. And then another person comes in and they tick off the other 40% plus a few more, but they're not the same. And you're like, if we could just get the two of them in one person, perfect, right? That would be it, right?
Right.
And so, it's when I first got into recruiting years ago, I remember thinking like, You guys, the client's not looking for the best person on the planet. They're looking for the best person you can find within a few weeks.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
if it's a very executive role, sometimes they take several months to sift through and, keep testing and trying and so it isn't those few weeks. They really want to make sure the fit is perfect because, it's going to impact a lot of things and they don't want the negativity if they hire the wrong person. Now, how do we disengage with this person? Oh, this is messy, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes that creates a hesitancy on the client side where they're like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, and as a recruiter, sometimes that's the challenge is trying to get them to tip like, hey, there's no perfect person,
Right. Well,
right?
one of the things that occurs to me, and I often say to the people I work with is, and I'm based here in Washington, D.C., so this is a term we use a lot, is it's never the scandal, it's always the cover up. Right. And again, some people may disagree with me, but those of us who get into like hiding our age or like taking off years of experience,
Yeah,
like it's basically, it's a lie, right? And
yeah,
if the reason they're going to hire us is they trust us, and yet we approach them and we don't trust them, I mean, like it doesn't work. And so
yeah,
part of the thing I advise clients is like be more authentic, not less,
right.
like show it all. And that's going to build trust, not destroy it. And some people would argue against that, and that's okay. I just think they're wrong. Yeah.
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 Yeah. No, good point. Yeah. It does amaze me though. There basically at some point there has to be a leap of faith over something, and I've seen many
Sure.
coaches that say like, hey, don't hire the perfect person for the role. Hire someone that's got about 60 to 70% of the right things
Mm,
because they'll grow into the role. Therefore,
mm.
they want to stay because they have still more to learn. If you
Sure.
hire a 100%er, they come in about 6 months, they're bored because they've already
Right.
done this before,
Well,
right?
I find most job seekers miss the mark, not because they're underqualified, it's because they're overqualified.
Overqualified. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the solution there is not to dumb yourself down. The solution is aim higher.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you're the one that's barely qualified, and then it all works out. So
Well,
sometimes.
to your point there too, I think the thing we've seen a lot in this kind of fractured job market right now,
Mm.
and I've been pushing a lot of both candidates and clients. Um, if you feel that person's overqualified, is there a consulting role where they can come in 2 days a week and be your senior coach?
Sure.
And therefore, there's a couple things. A, you're not paying the full salary for them, right? B, it gives you that chance to sort of date them, so to speak. Like if you really like them after 3 or 4 months, then you can go, okay, now
Right.
the trust has been built.
Yeah.
Now let's look at a full-time role for this person because now we know who this is. They're no longer a stranger in our midst, and they've proven themselves, and we like what they brought to the table. So it's the date before the proposal for marriage kind of thing, or
Sure.
the honeymoon phase, right? But
Yeah.
again,
Absolutely.
and some companies are really struggling pulling the trigger on very executive hires or senior management hires right now. And so that's kind of dip your toe in, bring somebody in as a consultant 1, 2, 3 days a week, whatever it is, and then you've got that ability to gauge in a more limited fashion,
Yeah.
is this the right person long term, right? And
Yeah.
I think there's enough people out of work that the audience is more receptive to that. Like if it were like 3, 4, 5 years ago, they'd all be like, no, I want a full-time job with benefits and this and
Right.
that and this and that and this and that. But if they've been unemployed for 6 or 8 or 10 months, they might be more amenable to the concept of coming in as a fractional consultant or leader, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and the opportunity is to live in the land of curiosity, right? So whether it's on the employer side or the applicant side, anytime people get into the business of, well, I know, fill in the blank, it's just not very helpful or very useful, right? As opposed
Yeah,
to let's run the experiment, let's try it.
yeah,
And I think to your point, people are becoming more and more open to that just because there's so much more uncertainty in all parts of the world. And so
yeah.
experimentation is the name of the game.
Yeah, yeah, and that willingness and openness. It is a mindset thing, right?
Yeah,
Eric, I had a question I wrote down earlier. I'm not sure how you're going to
sure.
answer this, but you talk sometimes about flipping the game in your experience. What do
Yeah.
you think is maybe one of the number one or two rules that you think job seekers are following today that's actually
Yeah.
sabotaging their chances or
Oh,
sabotaging their success?
there's so many. I
Right.
mean, I mean, the big one that like occurs to me is they make job seeking all about themselves. Hey, let
Mm-hmm.
me tell you about my experience. Let me tell you about my skills. And
Yeah.
we want to be influential with another person or organization. The last thing we're going to want to talk about is ourselves.
Yeah.
Even if they say, tell me about yourself, that's the last thing we're going to want to do. We're
Yeah.
instead going to want to make the person we're talking to feel seen, heard, and understood. Showing versus telling, right? That like people go on and tell you, oh, I'm this and I take initiative and all this, and yet their audio doesn't match their video,
Right.
right?
Right.
Or they will they'll hide stuff. Like I was just saying, they'll hide their age, they'll hide their years of experience, they'll or they'll fall into this misinterpretation of reality that somehow well, I can't put on there that I'm a mom or a dad or I like dogs because that's too personal.
Right.
Well, what is more personal than hiring another human being? I can't think of anything,
Yeah.
right? So like this notion that somehow we're not whole people and we leave. I mean, this might have been popular like back in the 90s. I remember when I was an early professional, like, leave, your personal stuff at home and bring your work stuff to work. But we don't live in a world of severance these days, right? People
Right.
are whole people. And I think we especially realized that after COVID. And it doesn't mean there's not context and we act accordingly. And um, you know, people are humans, they're full humans. And I think it's just really important for everybody to realize that. Employers are full humans too, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'd
But
say.
no, to your point though, I like that the because I've coached several people, and we do mock interviews and we record them, and then we play them back. And I had a couple of few years, summers ago, pardon me, and I
Yeah.
remember exactly that. Sort of like they were like, and if I some of the questions were really interesting. And if I get this job, what else will I get? And I was like, dude, this is far too much about what you're going to get in the,
Right.
and it was really like. And I flipped the script on him. I was like, how about you say, how can I plus your career, to your prospective employer?
Yeah.
How would I bring more to the table for you? Like if we could look, and
Right.
there's a constant conversation of if we could look back 12 months from now and
Right.
look at what the success actually looked like.
The time
Can,
warp question. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
we
Yeah. Yeah.
can
Yeah.
we can we actually put three things into the ether right now where you're going to go, this is actually going to be still relevant 12 months from now, and so is
Yeah.
this and this, because I want a 90-day roadmap to get in and start hitting that,
Yeah.
because I don't want this kind of wandering and trying to figure out what you guys need. Like, can you be clear, black and white with me? Like,
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
And
those
and
are.
an,
Go
and an
ahead, sorry.
even greater version of that is instead of asking is just saying it.
Yeah.
Right? Because if we can get them to be like, "Oh yeah, that's right," like you're in, right?
Right.
Like right. Asking is good,
Yeah. Yeah.
being curious, but like just stating it is even stronger. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's easier said than done. So,
Yeah.
so
So I want to dig a little bit deeper. Let's
sure,
let's imagine I come to you and I'm taking your course.
okay,
And I understand, because I've talked to you a few times now, and I
sure,
understand a big part of it is mindset, because I like that you do like mental jujitsu,
sure,
right? And you've got
sure,
the background to do it well, and you're wired well for turning turning paradigms on their head. If I can,
okay,
because
yeah,
does that
absolutely.
resonate well,
I'll take
right?
that. I'll take that. I'll accept
Yeah,
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, because I often come from certainty. This is the way it is. That's the way it looks like. Ba da dee da da
Sure,
da da da. Right. And then when you
sure.
say that, you're like, "Oh boy, you seem quite sure of yourself. You better make sure that's the. But I
Right.
know where you come from, and it's a lot more about curiosity. And this might be happen.
Yeah.
That could be a possibility. This could be
Right.
feasible. Let's test
Right.
it. Let's look at it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, that's right. I mean, and I learned this from a couple of my coaches, Steve Chandler and Trevor Timbeck, because, they recently just wrote a great book on this called The Power of Systems, right? And so, the temptation can be to ask, well, is it good or bad? Well, I have no idea. The opportunity instead is just to ask, is it working?
Mm,
So is this belief that I have working? Is this mindset that I have working? And if it doesn't work, all the
yeah.
time and energy we might spend on judging ourselves, let's just put into that into doing something else.
Right.
And that is
Right.
a practice more than an event. Easier said than done, and it's
Yeah.
available.
So
Yeah.
I want to drill in a bit beyond the mindset,
Sure.
which I think is extremely powerful. What are the
Sure.
sort of like logistical tools that you might use? Would you be training someone to, as a for instance,
Sure.
um, use an agentic AI to ramp up, or an app? These
Mm.
are examples I've been looking at myself several weeks now. Is
Sure.
like
Sure.
there's so many tools available now.
Yes.
And would you just hire a VA, as another example, in
Mm.
say, Asia somewhere, to do
Yeah.
some of the grunt work, right? Like you've puffed
Yeah.
up the resume, you've propped it up, you've done a LinkedIn a revamp, right? So that the
Sure.
LinkedIn landing page is like now a destination, and it has a marketing power to it.
Yeah.
And And but I'm still curious on the back end, like how
Yeah.
many hamsters are on the wheels, how much squeaking is going on at night. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, Eisenhower had this great quote. He says, "Battle plans are useless, but battle planning is indispensable," right? So
yeah,
part of the reason I'm a fan of people actually getting their hands dirty and doing their resume and a lot of the stuff themselves is it's not necessarily the end product, but it's what they went through to get the end product. So by the time they're in an interview and they say, "Tell me about a time," it's not like, they're not deer in the headlights because they actually know about a time because they were the ones that put it on
right.
the resume and thought about it and they got their hands dirty. Um, and the AI stuff, I don't want to be a complete Luddite. I mean, it is great for a lot of things. I think it's great for pattern recognition. It does a okay job if we're like looking at a job description and wanting to know what's important. But even there, it will get it wrong because it's a
Yeah,
large language model. It'll say, "Oh, well, this is important because they talk about this the most." But there could be the one tiny sentence that, with a human brain, you can realize, "Oh, that's the thing that's really important." But the thing I would say that it actually kind of excels at is, especially ChatGPT lately, is with infographics
yeah,
and creating graphics. It's getting so good at that. Now, I
yeah.
would not use it to do a resume for a lot of reasons. And if I wanted to do up an infographic about the company or organization I was applying to that made them feel seen, heard, and understood, that could be a pretty good use. And just be
Yeah.
obvious that it's AI. I mean, they're going to
Yeah.
know.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But
Have you
most
seen
most
Gamma?
jobs, yeah. I have
Yeah.
actually. I have, and it's always changing, and they're always kind of
Yeah.
one upping each other. But it's getting pretty damn good. Pretty
Yeah.
damn good.
Gamma
Yeah.
seems to be the leader right now for infographics. It does like really cool
Nice.
stuff.
Yeah.
But so I go back to again, like I don't want you to give every secret away of your course,
Oh no, I'm happy to.
but I hear from so many people who say, look, I've applied for like 3,000 jobs over the last
Sure.
3 years. And
Sure.
and often I'm saying, the common theory is networking is more powerful. Find the hiring
Hmm.
manager or someone
Hmm.
in a leadership role and
Hmm.
say don't say I want a job. Hit them with,
Nope.
hey, I think your company's doing some really cool stuff,
Hmm.
or I'm doing a book and I need a sound bite. Are you able to talk about what you do? Right now, you've
Hmm.
come in like my analogy is always you're in the dog park. You never go to someone else's walking their dog and you go, hey, what's your name? You go, what's your dog's name? What breed is
Right.
that? How old's your dog?
Right.
Same thing with a
Right.
big kid in a stroller, right? Hey, oh, how old is your baby? Right? Blah, 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 blah,
Right.
blah. It's a very
Right.
safe icebreaker. And nobody walks over to another dog walker and goes, hey, is your name Bob or John? Fuck, we're,
Right.
you know, the dog, ask the dog for, right? There's a pipeline of breaking the ice, right? Um,
Yeah. Well, I think there's nobody in the world that doesn't want to that doesn't want more acknowledgement. Like
sure.
everybody's seeking to be seen, heard, and understood. And if we can give people that security, it's going to
Yeah.
make them feel safe. If they feel safe, they're going to trust us, and if they trust us, they're going to hire us.
Right.
That's the sort of the chain.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's that thing of now I know you. And that's why I also think people's LinkedIn pages, I've been around long enough and you have that
Hmm.
LinkedIn started as just a resume thing and a networking thing.
Yeah.
And now it's a
Yeah.
whole,
It's
it's
a
like,
whole thing now.
it's like
Yeah. It's
Facebook on steroids, right?
that's right.
And
That's
you
right.
can, I used to say the cool thing about LinkedIn is there's none of the puke pictures and the embarrassing stuff that's on Facebook, right? Or whatever platform you're on.
Right.
LinkedIn
Right.
is for business only. Now
No,
it's
it's yeah,
everything.
it's yeah,
Dirty laundry on
it's
the
the Wild
line.
West. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
Wild West.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
again, I think the cool thing is you can embed media now and video. And so if
Sure.
somebody wants to check you out, they may have your resume, they go into LinkedIn, they go, oh, it's like a landing page now, right? It's a marketing
Yeah.
tool, right?
Yeah. That's
And
right.
so it can have more value. And I know several people in your team probably does it too, where they will sell you a package to do just that, to
Yeah.
really buff it up, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a benefit of LinkedIn being a little bit more progressive with their platform because it literally was, and there still are tons of people on there where they just basically put up their CV and you're like,
Right.
it can breathe now, it can entertain people, it can do other
Yeah, yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah. It's a little less wooden, that's for sure.
Yeah,
That's for
yeah,
sure. Yeah,
yeah. It's a
yeah,
little less Woodard. Yeah, yeah. Sorry,
yeah.
I went for it. So, I want to get back to you though. Stats, bragging points. I want to talk numbers.
Yeah.
Your profile says you've served over 34,000 job seekers. Like,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's a lot
Um,
of people. Yeah.
yeah, and I've seen your testimonial page, and it's like I'd buy it. Like I'm just reading testimony off testimony after, like, it's like I'm driving
Yeah.
up to a drive-through going, I'm going to order all the burgers. This looks really good, right?
That's
So
amazing. Yeah, yeah.
when it comes to success ratios, for example, what
Yeah.
percentage, if you can share that, if you're
Yeah,
fine to
happy
share that,
to.
you have clients that come in and is it kind of like, look, I don't know if this will work for you in 2 weeks or 2 years or 2 months or 6 months.
Yeah.
Have you looked at your sort of metrics and gone, on
Yeah.
average, it's like 6 to 9 months, they land several interviews and then hopefully, like, I'm just curious if you have stats on any
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah. So I would say probably about 60% of the people I work with get hired in 3 months or less.
Right.
And then there's probably another 20 or so that it's more like 4 or 5 months. And then, there's sort of the bottom fifth, some things happen. Some people decide they don't want to get hired. Some people,
Yeah.
they'll have like a personal thing that comes up, like a family member sick or they get sick or,
Yeah.
and then there's some people that they get into it and for whatever reason, they just kind of don't do the
Yeah.
stuff. What I find is, there are some things in a job search we can control, right? I should say rather, there's some things we can't control. We can't control how many offers we get and how many interviews we get. We can't control that.
Yeah.
And we can control everything else. We can
Yeah.
control, our mindset, the sort of like our ability to find opportunities. We can control the paper we send out, the follow up, the
Yeah.
networking, what we say in the interview, are just so we can control all of that. And
Yeah.
so the opportunity for a lot of the job seekers I work with is to focus on the stuff they can control, and the other stuff tends to follow.
Right.
Consistency is king, though. And not, is doing, I would much rather have somebody send out one application a day with great follow up and bring in
Right.
their network than I would somebody sending 50 applications a day. 100%.
Yeah, fair enough. Good comment. Good comment. The
Yeah,
other thing, I've coached a lot of job seekers because they are not professional job seekers. They're not
that's
professional
right.
interviewers, right?
That's right.
And so my analogy is often like, think of an actor getting ready to go live on stage in a play.
Yep.
They rehearse their lines sometimes for months,
Yep.
so that at that magic moment when it all counts and the curtains open and the audience is there, you're not
Yep.
going, right? And
Yes.
and so, but a lot of people go, I've got an interview next week. I'm like, how many times you prep for it? They're like, prep for it. I read over my CV a few times. I'm like, no,
Right.
no, 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 no. Think of the actor walking around the house, saying his lines or her lines, going over
Right.
the material.
Right.
And I said, like, I bring that sort of thing when I'm doing a coaching interview
Yeah.
prep. I'm like, let's come up with 5 questions you think they're going to ask. And
Yes.
then let's think about 15 that you haven't even thought of. And again, this is an LLM kind of thing. Go into
Sure.
ChatGPT or whatever your favorite LML is. Go,
Sure.
here's my resume. Here's the
Right.
job I'm applying to,
What are they
right?
going to ask me? Yeah.
What are they going to
Yeah, that's
ask me,
right.
right? Because
Yeah.
you already know the top 5 things you think they're going to ask. What are your strengths and
Right.
weaknesses, and where do you think see yourself in 5 years?
Right,
Whatever
right,
they're,
right, right. The standard stuff. Yeah, yeah,
canned
yeah,
stuff. But like, I'm curious from your perspective, is there
yeah.
any zingers that you like to think about in an interview where you go,
Yeah.
this one will stump them? Have you got one or two of those in your back pocket?
Well, so I'd say a couple things. One, I take your point about being able to make good mouth words and say good words, right? And it could be the opportunity in any job interview is not to perform, but to connect.
Ah,
Right. And sometimes it's a balance, right? It can be a balance. I think there is a certain, because the thing about job interviews, there's nothing organic about it, right?
mm,
So, I know this is true for me, and I suspect it's true for you, Lance. Like, I don't go around practicing conversations before I have them. There
mm,
are some people that do, right? That's how they're wired. And
yeah,
so, actually, people who kind of have high emotional intelligence and sort of rely on their empathy to have an organic conversation can sometimes be at a disadvantage in an interview because there's nothing
yes,
organic about it. It's
right,
artificial, right? It's
yeah,
it's a contrived situation. So in that sense, somebody like me who never rehearses anything in my mind, it's actually an advantage because there's an agenda for both sides. Now, the
yeah, yeah,
zinger questions, what are some good ones? I in terms of questions like, I mean, I think they're all basically the same question. I've never, it's and in what I would say in terms of job seekers, if you have the two stories I like job seekers to have in terms of responses are a story of triumph and a story of defeat.
right,
And if you've got those two stories or maybe a couple versions of them each, you could pretty much um, answer any questions. Now, also to your point, is if I'm making my answers about myself, I can get stuck. However, if I'm making my answers about the employer, it's hard to get stuck. They can say, "Tell me, what's your favorite animal, and what do you like it when what's your favorite thing that your favorite animal does?" And I could say, "Well, I'm a fan of giraffes when they eat leaves high because your company really has high standards, and it reminds me of a giraffe eating high leaves, and a giraffe can't bend down or they'll
Yeah,
pass out. It reminds me of you and your company and the standards you maintain." See, I'm making it about them.
the
There's
tie
pretty
back.
much, yeah, there's no question they can ask me because
Yeah.
every answer I'm going to give is going to be about the person or organization I'm talking to.
Yeah, yeah. But
Yep.
I think that's it. That tie back at the end is critical, right? Why am I telling you
Yeah.
all this? Because I think it resonates with you. And then you can test them too. Like,
Yeah.
I've sometimes asked, like, did I answer that? Where? Because sometimes it's like a loaded question, right? Like I
Yeah.
remember recruiting, we have all these metrics we track, right?
Yeah.
And some of them are really relevant to certain organizations and other ones are not. Like time
Yeah.
to fill, as an example. Like it took us three
Yeah.
weeks to fill this, great, right? Other places be like, no, no, quality of candidate blows time to fill way out of the water, right?
Sure.
And
Sure.
so, there's probably 30 I could pull out of the air, go, this is the most. And I remember years ago being in an interview where the CEO was asking me, what's the most important KPI when we're
Hmm.
recruiting? And I looked at him and I said, that's all about you. You tell me which one, and then I'll fill that, right?
Yeah.
Because I thought like I could bring 30, and he was like, that was not the answer he wanted, right?
Yeah.
But I said, just tell me about your company because
Right.
is it time to fill? Is it quality of
Right.
candidate? Is it looking at retention? Like everyone doesn't leave for the first 3 years. Like
Right.
there's a whole bunch of metrics that we could look at. And honestly, it's usually a recipe of several, not just one.
Yeah.
But he was looking
Yeah.
for this silver bullet. And I'm like, dude, we're dealing
He
with
wanted
people.
certainty, is what he said.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so it was a
Yeah.
strange thing, but I could feel the air shift right there. I thought, I think I've just lost this interview based on that one question. And then I thought, that's good because if that's the way he's thinking, that
Right.
linear, we're not a good fit anyways because we're dealing with
Right.
people, right?
That's
And
right.
one of my old bosses said if people were a commodity stock that was getting traded, the
Right.
value goes up and down radically from day to day. He said you couldn't say like, if humans were futures, you go like by Friday the stock will look like this. He said,
That's
nope.
right.
He said
Yeah.
somebody comes in, has a bad day, they perform poorly. Next week, they're a superstar, right?
That's right.
So he said, like it's impossible. And he said, to your point about certainty, and I've had that too, where a client says like, "Hey, can you guarantee me yada 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 yada, whatever it is?"
Absolutely
Like,
not. Yeah.
exactly. I just go, "Nope."
Yeah.
And they're like, "But someone
Yep.
else did." And I'm like, "Well, good luck to you."
They lied to you. Yep.
Yeah, we
Yep.
will get it between the hash marks in a certain way, shape, and
Right.
fashion. But this is a volatile kind of thing.
Right.
Best guess is best performance. Do what you can do, but again, you're dealing with a lot of moving pieces at a company, and things change. So, Erica, I wanted to wrap up soon. I think we could
Sure.
talk for an hour, and
We
you and
could,
I would have
buddy.
fun, but people would fall asleep. They're running out for a sandwich or something.
That's right.
So before we wrap, if listeners right now are tired of waiting for that
Sure.
job and trying to, and they really want to get ready into a real conversation with your team, where do
Sure.
they find you? I know it's gethiredfast.net. Am I correct?
Yeah. Yeah. It's either getironfast.net or you can just go to my website. It's a little bit easier to remember. You just winatwork.io,
Okay, great.
winatwork.io, or either one of those. And the other thing I wanted to offer your listeners, Lance, is if anybody who listened to this that connects to me on LinkedIn and if they message me the word LaFort, I've got a free. We were talking about LinkedIn before. I've got a free course, how to make your LinkedIn profile awesome. I usually sell it for 99 bucks, but I'll send it to any of your listeners for free. All they
Nice.
have to do is just
Wow.
message me the word LaFort and I will send it along. And hopefully it helps make their LinkedIn profile awesome.
Eric, you're a champion. That's fantastic. I really appreciate that. Thank you
Sure.
so much. Good. And look, they can also find you on LinkedIn, right? Eric Woodard. And
Yep. I'm
or I,
there.
I think if they listen long enough and look for like good karma, they might find you too.
It's possible.
Yeah, yeah.
It's possible.
All right, Eric, thank you so much for being on the show. Really appreciate your time and your contribution. And hopefully we can do another chapter at some point, another episode later in the year or next year. But thank you again. I really appreciate it. And I hope some
Thank you,
people take you
Lance.
up on your offer and use your services because if they just go to your testimonials page like I did last week, I was blown away. It's proofs in the pudding, right? You've got a lot of happy customers and I think again, it's a super challenging job market right now. So anything that pushes you into that spot where you're differentiating yourself and finding a better way of doing it, I think is technology that's necessary and needed right now. It's a different community and different kind of landscape out there right now. I'll stop talking. Thanks so much.
Take care, bud.
Take care. See you soon. Bye bye.